Okay, try to get the streams up here. All right, that looks better. And evidently I still have to tell it go live. Okay, well, so much for that test. All right, sorry, I'm a little late. The puppy was having way too much fun outside. So just give me a second here while I try to get everything up and running. And my little shortcut plan does not seem to be working, so I'm going to go back and do this manually. So hello, good work. So we've been talking all month about finding a job, working a resume, all that kind of good stuff. And on Tuesday, I talked about ways that you could get experience before you have the job experience, which basically was all about how you just need to sit down and do the work yourself. You don't necessarily have to have a job in order to do wireframes or build a workflow or what have you. All you have to do is look at the stuff around you in your life, pick something, and use that as your example. So that went over really well, and people were asking all kinds of questions, which was awesome. Thank you so much for the feedback. That was really great. So, but some people were having a little trouble getting to that point. So I thought tonight we would just real quick have a short session, and I would just walk you through two things that I pulled just right out of the news from the past week, actually it's past couple of days. And we'll kind of just walk through that so that you kind of feel for the way to approach that type of an exercise. But just give me 1 second. I just need to get this up online here because I tried to shortcut it, and of course it didn't work. You know, that's not really a big surprise, right? That's just the way life goes. All right, come on. Well, I'm going to try one more time here. Let's get this going. Come on. I guess if worst comes to worst, we could just do this in one place. I think right now I'm just up on Facebook. If you guys on Facebook could just let me know that you're there, that would be great. Because I do seem to be having some problems. I tried something a little different, and evidently this was a bad time to do that. But I figured since it was a impromptu kind of a show tonight, that would be a good chance to... Oh, I know what I'm missing. Hang on. I know what it is. See, the back of my brain is processing here. So let's just do this. And I need to click a little magic here, I think. Right? Live streaming. There we go. Okay, and in the meantime, if you are having any problems, if you have any questions, please, you know, feel free, throw them in. I mean, this is where all this content comes from, is from your questions. Because that's what we're here for. We're here to help you attain your goals and to solve your problems that you're facing as a BA. I know there's a lot of BAs out there that are working solo, and that can be frustrating, so now you're not alone. You have this whole community here to help you. Or if you're just working on a team and you're looking for some help, that's all good too. We can do that. Okay, so I guess I can't put a title on this now that it's already running. That's not the end of the world. I can go back and do that later, right? Let me just... Oh, that's where that's coming from. Got it. Got it, got it, got it. Okay, one more sec. Just do a quick one. Nope, that's not going to work. Okay, let's try that one more time. Sorry, I'm just trying to get my brain to catch up. All right, let's try one more time. No, okay, I'm sorry to Periscope. If this isn't working on Periscope, it's my fault. Something seems to not be working, but I can't seem to figure it out this quickly. And we're just going to have to let it go for now. Yes, all right, we'll let that go. And here. Just add a quick title on this one. Okay. See, that's what happens when I try to do things on the fly after a long week. And we will... All right. I think I can put a description in on this later. I hope. I hope. Hopefully that gets saved. Oh, good. They're saved. Okay. All right. So, just to catch everybody up who's joining, thanks so much for swinging by. Like I said the other day, I thought that we would spend a few minutes tonight, and real short. I mean, unfortunately, I'm a little late starting here, but all right. It's all 7:30, so people will catch up. We have been talking all month about how to, you know, get a job, where to search, how to search, why you want to search before you start to build your resume, what to do while you're building your resume. So, and then I started to talk about the problem everybody runs into, which is I need a job to get experience, but they won't hire me because they want somebody with experience. So what you can do is you can build your experience on your own. So if you know that you can do this, if you've been doing this type of work, or you've been working alongside a BA and you're realizing, hey, this is a really good fit for me. Sometimes all you need are just some examples that you can talk through with somebody during the interview process to help them see what you already know, that you can absolutely do this job. Just because we haven't done this as a job maybe yet, or maybe if you're, looking up your game or something, really just sometimes having something with you that you can point to and walk through and explain your thought process and all that can make all the difference. So some people ask for a little bit more information about that because it was kind of a new concept for them. So let's start with this first story that I found online. Everybody heard it. It's about you heard in the news about how Google was having a problem with their home devices, and people were reporting things and they weren't sure what was going on. Well, this is a perfect example of the kind of thing that we get brought in on. These are the kind of projects that we get brought in on a lot. So what you would do with this kind of scenario, so you just take this story, right? So you hear that they're having this problem, and then it turned out it was, they thought it was the Google Homes with the routers, and then it turned out, oh no, it looked like it was Chromecast too. So if you take that problem just on its own, okay, whether or not it was a real problem or not, it turned out it is, and they fixed it today. But you could just take that and kind of step back and think about it from this point of view. If you were on the team trying to solve this problem, what would you do? So then you would say, okay, well, maybe you would want to go and get, some data. Maybe you want to look at the logs that people are sending in, that are reporting the problem. Maybe you want to think through the logic of, okay, well, what did we recently change? Let's see what's going on. The thing is, it's not just a matter of thinking about it. Get that down on paper. So maybe you would want to start with, maybe going and mapping out. Maybe do a mind map of possible, causes and things to check and all those kinds of things. And then just, so if you've ever done a mind map, you start out with your central topic, okay? And then you start to draw off the lines and you put in the different concepts, and then off those concepts and other, sub ideas or questions, then you branch off of those. So this one would have, 4, and this one would have 3. So that would be a good place to start with. Kind of show how you approach a problem, how you break it down, how you look at the big problem and you start to, look into the obvious possible causes, and then maybe looking at the not so obvious causes and looking for cause and effect, and maybe it's not one thing, maybe it's a couple of things. Get that down on paper. That's a perfect example to show somebody about how you attack a problem. From there, you could maybe sit down and work out some logic flows. Okay, so this program is checking all the time to listen to see if somebody's calling for it. Right. So for example, hey Google, what time is it?
It's 7:28.
Okay. So you would take that, map out what that flow is, and then branch off of that flow, what the user interaction is, and then branch out. And of course, you're making guesses here. You're not working for Google. You don't have the insight into what's going on in the background, but you can make some reasonable guesses. I mean, that's what we do. You apply logic to the problem and say, okay, well, if it's waiting for the keyword and then the person asks a question, okay, well, then think about what's happening, internally inside the device, and then how that request is being sent out into Google and how that's processed and what comes back, and start to break that out. So I would start with the user interaction, asking the question, waiting for the response. Then, okay, what's going on? So I would swim lane it, okay? So you've got the first swim lane of the user interaction, then you've got the next swim lane of the device doing its thing, and then the next swim lane of, okay, well, let's see, it's being processed, it's being sent out to the cloud, it's being processed by this server, it's doing a voice match. Go through all those kinds of things, and then look at, okay, well, when it's sending it back, okay, well, we send back this string, we send back, these IDs to make sure that it's going to the right device and it's answering the right question, and then off of that, just because now we kind of know what the problem is, maybe what packets are being sent and what verification's going back and forth and what handshaking's happening, and maybe then saying, hey, there's a packet overflow and things are leaking through, or it's looping on a certain process and it's flooding the Wi-Fi network as it's coming back to the device. Again, if you swim lane that out and you show that, and then you are able to sit down and say with somebody as you're explaining it during an interview, well, okay, this was the problem and this is what I thought, and so we documented it this way, and this thought then led to this thought, and then I saw this, and then this could possibly be the issue. The fact that you didn't actually work on that team, or you didn't work for Google, I'm sorry, that's the dog, that's not a hindrance to you getting a job. What this is all about is showing your skill set and having a tangible explanation and a tangible example of how you arrived at those decisions, what your thought process was. That's what they're looking for. They want to see somebody that is logical and can communicate on paper and verbally. That's what this is all about. And from there, you could go and you could map out possible solutions and all that kind of stuff. So that's one. So hopefully that kind of gives you a feel for, sorry, things are popping up, a feel for the type of thought process that you would want to go through with all of this. Hang on, I'm going to ask the puppy to be quiet. Okay, there we go. Somebody must be getting a delivery. He was very excited. I asked him to stop being surveillance for the neighborhood. Okay, so that's one example. Does that help? Does that kind of get the juices flowing? You start to see what I'm talking about as far as, you know, kind of looking around and just picking a problem and using that as your example. It's kind of fun doing it with something in the news because it also makes it timely. It kind of gives you a conversation point to work with. But it's really about creating some sort of documents that you can use as an example. So yeah, so that's helping? Okay, awesome. All right, so I'm going to just throw out one more. Like I said, this is just going to be a quick session. I just wanted to throw some ideas out. And like I said in the session earlier, and by the way, if you missed the earlier sessions, you know, they're all available on replay, whether you're on Periscope or Facebook or YouTube. You can just go ahead and look back over the past, it's basically all of January. All the sessions I've done have been about this particular job hunt related things. So go back and take a look. And if you have any other questions, let me know. You can reach out, you know, Twitter, Facebook, all those kinds of things. So I'm going to give you one more just again to help kind of get your imagination working for you. So in this particular example, and this was a scary, scary thing, but this again is a great example for us as far as, okay, here's a problem that never ideally should have happened. Something really got messed up. So how would we go about fixing it and preventing it from happening someplace else? So what am I talking about? I'm talking about the alert that went out in Hawaii, I guess it was over the weekend, it was Saturday, I think, saying that there was an incoming attack, okay? I mean, a horrible thing. It took like 38 minutes between when that message went out and somebody finally got around to letting everybody know everything was okay. The whole error occurred really at the highest level because of a bad user interface. Don't let anybody ever tell you the user interface doesn't matter. It does. So, I'm putting all that aside. So this is again another excellent example of a real life situation that happened that now we can sit back and sort of armchair quarterback and say, okay, well, what could have been done differently? And again, sit down and figure it out. Now in this case, you can go online and there's actually some really good examples. We're not exactly clear if all of these are exactly true. A couple of different sites have claimed to have had screen captures of the actual screen that the person made the mistake on. And when if any of these are correct, it's super clear why this happened. But basically, as you're reading about it, you can start to get a feel for what their process is and what might have happened. And again, it's not about assigning blame. This is about looking at a problem, breaking it down, identifying what happened and what might be a good solution or solutions to keep it from happening again. And also having a fail-safe if, God forbid, it ever does happen again. If something like this should ever happen again, it shouldn't take 38 minutes. When this mistake happened, they knew within a minute that it was a mistake, but it still took 37. Oh, okay, sorry. It still took 37 minutes for them to get the message out. That's inexcusable, but that's because there was no plan for it. Something went wrong, everybody panicked, and by the time, everybody ran around with their hair on fire and figured out, oh, well, here's how we can, undo this. All these people went through this ridiculous, horrible situation that they didn't have to. So again, I would say step back. Okay, so let's document, just in theory. Okay, so, here's the logic, here's the flow that we think happened, and so it was, it was a change of work shift. And there's a process that they go through of, sort of a checklist that they're supposed to run through. And they were doing that, and they've done it a million times before, and it's boring, and they were late, and, maybe they were running, and they were worried about what they're going to do after work or whatever. But also just because we're human, and we're going to make mistakes because that's the human condition. And that's why you want to build these systems to be as robust as you possibly can. So evidently what they have to do is they have to go through this checklist, and they have to click on these certain things as part of the work change. And so that's what they did. The problem is that this was an alert this was an emergency alert going out that had really no fail-safes around it. Somebody clicks on this hyperlink, this button, and the message goes out. Obviously, it depends on the severity of any process that's happening. But this is a process that screams for some sort of redundancy, some sort of oversight, some sort of, are we really sure we need to do this? Now, of course, it can't take forever because this is a time-intensive situation. But somewhere between the get it out without any safeguards and too many safeguards, somewhere in here is a very happy point. So again, you could take this, you would, document. What I would do is I would process flow out, all the steps, in this process. Okay, so certain time comes, employee A needs to do these things as employee B is coming in, and document what happened, and then go ahead and document what could possibly be better. So for example, in this scenario, maybe instead of when they're sending out a level 1, mega alert, maybe somebody else needs to, within, 5 seconds of that click, review it and click it and send it. Not the same person, because this is the Control-Alt-Delete problem from way back. People are very used to they do something and a message comes saying, are you sure? And they automatically say yes. They don't even read it. Excuse my language, but the oh shit moment doesn't happen until after they hit that second click, because we're human. It's like, yes, yes. Oh, wait, no. That's the moment that we should have had. That should never happen. It should, if this is that serious, somebody should click on it. Another person should get that notification in a fraction of a second or so to look at it and go, oh, wait, no, this is not the right message, or, yeah, this has got to go. But that right there could have stopped it. And there's a bunch of other things. But this is the time, I'm just throwing out the obvious one to you. You could think of maybe you could think of 3 other possible solutions on how this could be mitigated going forward. How, if a mistake does get made, it could be immediately caught and another message go out saying, we're so sorry, we messed up, it's okay. But this is the kind of thing. You could write up a little procedure for it. You could change the checklist. Whichever method you take, or maybe take a couple of them and offer them, bring them along as an example of companion pieces that would go about, presenting a solution for this problem. That's the kind of material that you can bring with you to the interview that will help up your game. Plus all the other things we talked about, like, downloading the free version of the software to get comfortable with it and all that kind of stuff. But I just wanted to kind of throw these out here as, you just open, a paper or, listen to the news or surf the web, and you're going to find obvious things out there where you can be like, okay, well, if I was approaching this problem, here's what I would do. Here's how I would document it. Here's how I would present the solutions. Here's how I would break it down. If you could do that, and you don't have to do 500 pages of documents, do 3 pages, do 5 pages, something like that. Just enough to help that person who's talking to you, who's looking at you as a possible employee, to understand what it is that you bring to the table. And maybe in some cases, you're going to do 2 sets of these. One that you can, send along with your application or on your resume, and another set that you're going to bring with you that's a little bit more robust to talk through. If you're having trouble getting the phone call for the interview, you might need to do that. You might need to have like a mini document that you can include with the application or your resume, so that, maybe your resume is not quite strong enough on its own, but with that extra piece, then they're like, oh, okay, wait, maybe this person does it. If they're just on the line with you, that might be the thing that pushes you into the let's bring them in pile. And then you would have then more that you could back up what they saw before when they actually bring you in to talk. Does that help? I hope so. Yes? Okay, good. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for the thumbs up. I appreciate that. That's very much appreciated. Okay, so great. So let me just check. We're good? Okay. All right. I am so glad that helped. All right. Okay, so think about it. Go take. You can take these examples. You can take something else. Give it a try. Yes, you're going to have to spend some time on this, but start, give yourself like, 15, 20 minutes. Set a timer, sit down, and just try it. And then evaluate it. Be very harsh with yourself. Look at it and say, okay, well, if I was somebody and somebody brought me this, what would this say to me? And if it's, starting to feel right, then, go ahead and spend an hour and do 1. Do 2. I have seen this make all the difference. And frankly, this has always been okay, so just stepping this out again. So, this is, if you've never done this kind of work, or if you don't have samples, here's the other thing. If you don't have samples you can bring. So this is something I run into a lot. Sometimes the projects I work on are under NDA. That's a non-disclosure agreement, which means I can't bring the samples of the work I've done as examples of the work I can do. So there have been periods in my life where I've just done this because otherwise I don't have anything. And I have always, my entire career, I've always had these kinds of examples with me when I go for an interview, just in case I needed them. Now, in the beginning, I always brought them out. Now it's sort of a hit or miss depending on how the conversation's going. But this kind of might sound at first like it's just for people that are new or transitioning from a different title, but it really could be for anybody. It's also just a good practice to get into. If maybe you've been working on projects and, their process uses certain kinds of documents. But, you know that there's other document types out there, there's other approaches. You can do this kind of stuff if you just want to stay more well-rounded, because sometimes you kind of get into a rut with certain things. So great, you've got those that you've been doing with your regular job, that subset of documents that you can use. But then you can do this type of a thing for those other types that maybe this team doesn't use, but another team might. So it's just good to keep sharp on it. So, you don't want dull tools, right? So this is another way that you can use this. Okay? All right, folks. Thanks so much. Sorry for the puppy noises in the background. We will be back on Tuesday. And I may be popping in and out over the weekend. I am going to test, because this should have worked. This shortcut that I tried should have worked. So if you feel like stopping by to say hi as I'm testing over the weekend, feel free. Otherwise, enjoy your weekend, and we will talk to you on Tuesday. Bye. Oh, here, we should do this, right?